Welcome to my channel. Today we'll actually be making a military hat and we'll be making use of Sketchfab, which we are going to download this 3D model, and we're actually going to download the GLB format. This way it comes with the textures and we don't actually have to make things up front. So we're actually going to open Lens Studio and create a new project. From here we would actually add a face mesh, which we would rename, and then create another face mesh again, which we then rename beards, and we duplicate the face mesh and name the first one beards and the second one mustache. Collapse, drag in our 3D file, which we got from Sketchfab. Now we're going to add a new box and rename it to art. We're going to add components to it, which is going to be the amount of objects we have for the military art. You can see we have 6 over there, so we are going to add the render mesh visuals 6 times. Now that we are done with that, we're actually going to put in our objects each. But instead, a shorter way to go about it is to click on it, then drag each to each. So you can see dragging object 1 to object 2, and like that. So this way it is easier for you and it saves you a lot of time compared to you selecting each layer and adding an object every time. You just drag it into the section. Now we're actually going to have to rotate this because you basically can't have your art this way. And one thing we're also going to do is add another head mesh, which would be to occlude the head when the military art is basically on it. We're going to rename this to head, and we are going to add the material which is going to be occluded. As you can see, it's occluded that out. So we are going to drag our arts into the arts folder. First, we're going to resize and then rotate, making it a -90, so it's the other way around. Now we are going to actually resize. And drag it into that. Now we're going to adjust. There are shortcut keys to move around, but I won't be using the shortcut keys. So we're actually going to look around for edges that are coming out. So you can actually see that it's not sitting so well, so we're adjusting for it to sit well. We have to move up a bit, yeah. And we also need to add the materials. So if you notice, for this particular model, it uses just one material. There are other models that actually use different materials for different objects. So this way, we're actually going to do the same thing: drag, drop, and drag and drop, which would give us the Now that we are done with that, we can actually see the cap has come to life. Now we're actually going to select all the textures and reduce it to medium so as to reduce the size of the filter file. Now to our beards. Making sure our face index is 0, because when your face index is 0, you basically have it on your first person user. But if you have like two faces, you have it on your first and second person user. So now we are going to search for beard under the assets library, and we are going to select the first, which is the light mustache and beard. Import. Then now we're actually going to go under that. You can see there's a face mesh beard and all, which we're actually going to put into each other. So for beard, we're actually going to drag it on that beard. Then mustache, we actually would use the blend normals because that gives it more realism. Now we're actually going to come here, select that too. You can see the difference. Now we're actually going to modify this a bit to actually make the beards look a bit natural, not too full, not too little, right? Now that we are done with this, we are going to actually create a material. We can actually search for a material, but to actually reduce the size of the file, it will be best if we just work with the normal material, being that we can tweak it for this. So we're actually going to just work with the material instead of creating one, work with the material that came with that particular model. So the material, we're actually going to make it two-sided, so it has a 3D feel, and make it black. So now we're actually going to change the blend mode. Because the blend mode, changing it to multiply gives it a more natural feel compared to it being disabled. So we're actually going to make it multiply. So it blends off with the skin. So now we're actually going to check for our performance updates to actually see that this is no more than 8 MB. So we have 6 MB, which is fair and good enough to upload. So we check for other previews on other models to see how it looks like. Now the eyes are actually being affected, so it means something is being affected that we made. Now changing and taking out that, but no, that isn't it. So we're going to go back to that of the apps and instead add a face mesh, head mesh basically to it. So this way, we're actually going to have an occluder for the face itself, which will drag back under the art. Then come down there and change under our resource color. Change to an occluder. and we're good. Now I can preview on others, and you can see it blends seamlessly with their faces. With each faces, it blends seamlessly. Each face and color type, skin type, I mean. Now we check for performance again. Still within the 6 points, which is fair. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more.